Dear viewers, welcome back to my channel. In this video, there will be a discussion on the transaction value, inclusions and exclusions from the transaction value, then valuation in some special cases. Kindly watch the video till the end, like it, share and subscribe the channel. If you have any comments about the video, please put your comments in the comment box. Now, let's move to the presentation. Transactional value. Of course, in a very simple words to say, transactional value is the price paid for the supply of the goods or services or both. So, in other words to say, it is the price actually paid or payable for the supply of goods or services or both, where the supplier and the recipient are not related to each other and the price is the sole consideration. The supplier and recipient of the goods are not related with each other. So here the transaction value will be applicable only if the agreement of supplies satisfies the two conditions. The first condition is that the supplier and the recipient of the goods of supply are not related with each other and the price is the sole consideration. Now let's have a small discussion on the discount. Of course, all of us, we know that discount is nothing but which reduces the invoice value of the goods or services or both. In other words, to say an amount or a percentage deducted from the normal selling price is called as a discount here. So discount means a reduction in the price of the good or service. Offering a trade and cash discount is a promotional scheme of almost every business enterprises. Discount is a tactic which is followed by the supplier of the goods to enhance the amount of the sales. The GST Act does not make any differentiation between a trade discount and the cash discount here. All of us, we know that the general difference between the trade discount and the cash discount is that the trade discount will not appear in the books of accounts, whereas the cash discount will appear in the books of account. The trade discount will not have any impact on the net profit, whereas the cash discount has effect on the net profit. But the GST Act does not make any differentiate between these two terms here. Discounts given after supply will be allowed only if certain conditions are satisfied. Under the GST, the discounts shall be allowed in two categories. One is those given for at the time of supply and those given after the time of supply. So what is this? Now let's have a brief discussion here. Those given, the discounts those given before or at the time of supply means any discount which is given before or at the time of delivery of the supply of the goods. If such a discount has been duly recorded in the invoice in respect of such supply will be allowed as a deduction from the transaction value. In other words to say, the such discount will appear in the invoice prepared by the supplier of the goods and which will be deducted from the transaction value of the goods here. Then the discount those given after at the time of supply means that any discount which is given after the supply has affected if such discount is established in terms of an agreement entered into at or before the time of such supply, specifically linked to relevant invoice. It can be clearly tracked to relevant tax invoice, or the input tax credit proportionate to the discount has been reversed by the recipient of the supply here. Now let us look into the inclusions to be made in the transactional value. In other words, to say what the transaction value should include in it. So here the taxes, the duties, the cesses, fees and charges except the CGST, SGST, UTGST and the GST compensation cess can be included. Say for example, if there is an excise duty which can be included here, you assume that if there is any customs duty that can be included, assume that if there is a health cess that can be included, or say for example labor cess that can be included here. Then the next one, amount incurred by recipient on behalf of the supplier. Here the transactional value shall include any amount that supplier is liable to pay in relation to such supply, but which has been incurred by the recipient of the supply and not included in the price actually paid or payable for the goods or services or both. For example, it may be like a freight, insurance. So all these things can be added here. Then incidental expenses and amount charged for the activities done before the delivery by the supplier here. It may be like a commission and packing charged by the supplier to the recipient of supply, or it may be like say the any amount charged for anything done by the supplier in respect of the supply of the goods or services at the time of or before the delivery of the goods or supply of services. It may be like inspection charges, installation charges, or testing charges, or it may be like a cost of primary packing, cost of protective packing, normal and secondary packing cost, design and engineering charges. Then it may be like a cost of drawings and design, weightment and loading charges. Then it may be like design and engineering charges, or it may be loading and handling charges, inspection charges, testing charges, advertisement charges, publicity expenses, selling expenses, service charges, subsidy received from the third party for a timely supply other than government subsidy. So all those things can be included here. Then charges for a delayed payment of consideration. Suppose, say for example, if the recipient of the goods fails to make the payment within the stipulated time, in such case the supplier may levy certain interest like 1% or 2%, so which can also be included in the transactional value. Then subsidies are directly linked to the price, excluding subsidies provided by the central or the state government. Say for example, now for the supply of a LPG cylinder, the government provides subsidy cannot be included here. Whereas if the subsidy is directly linked, assume that suppose if the KMF provides any subsidy for purchase of the milk, so which can be included here. Then now let's look into the which are the exclusions to be made from the transaction value. If suppose if the transaction value in has already included such things, it is discounts provided before supply, and if such a discount has been recorded in the invoice issued in respect of such supply. That means, say for example, assume that on bulk purchases a discount of 5% is provided and which is shown in the invoice. So then such amount of the discount can reduce the transaction value. Then a discount given after the supply has been effected if such discount is established in terms of an agreement entered into at or before the time of such supply. Then say for example, if the agreement provides that if an early payment is made within 3 days, then 1% cash discount will be provided. So such 1% will also reduce the transaction value. Then the next one comes here, specifically linked to relevant invoice here, so that can also reduce here. Then cost of durable and returnable packing, if it is included in the selling price, shall be excluded as it is sent back to the supplier. Say for example, you may be knowing edible oil is sold in the tins, and such tins can be returned. So the cost of such a durable and returnable container can be excluded from the transactional value of the goods here. Now let's look into the valuation of supply in some special cases here. So these are mainly concerned with the services rather than the goods here. Now let us look into those things one by one. So now let's look into the valuation of supply in some special cases here. Rule 32 of the CGST Rules 2017 provides the general provisions relating to the determination of the value of supply in respect of the certain specific supplies of services. The valuation methods provided under this rule are optional here. So there is no compulsion for the application of such rules here, and these rules are applicable only to the specific services such as purchase and sale of foreign currency, including money changing, booking tickets for air travel by an air travel agent, life insurance business, supply of second-hand goods, redeemable vouchers or stamps or coupons or tokens. Now we will have discussion on these things. So now we will have discussion on purchase and sale of foreign currency, including money changing here. The value of services in relation to the purchase or sale of foreign currency, including money changing, is provided in Rule 32 Sub Rule 2 Clause A of CGST Rule 2017 here. Such valuation is made under two methods here. So whereas the method one is determination of the value of service in relation to the purchase or sale of foreign currency, including money changing, has two situations. One is a transaction wherein one of the currencies exchanged is Indian rupee, and another one is a transaction where neither of the currencies exchanged is Indian rupee. So situation as per situation one here, which includes one of the currencies exchanged is Indian rupee here. So in such cases here, value shall be equal to the purchase of foreign currency by service supplier. In that case, it means in that case the value of supply equals to RBI reference rate minus buying rate multiplied by the total number of currencies. Then sale of foreign currency by service supplier, their value of supply equals to selling rate minus RBI reference rate multiplied by the total units of currency here. Here RBI reference rate means it is the rate of exchange which is prevailing at the time of exchange of the currency. Suppose if the RBI exchange rate is not available, in such case 1% of the gross amount of Indian rupee provided or received by the person changing the money. In other words, to say value supply equals to 1% of the gross amount of Indian rupees here. So if the currency is, say for example, if Indian currency is going to convert into US currency in US dollars here, then we should take a reference RBI reference rate minus the buying rate multiplied by how many Indian rupees you want to convert into dollars. Similar in case of when you go for purchasing the other selling here, say in that case selling rate minus RBI reference rate multiplied by the total number of currencies here. Now situation 2, where the exchange of the currency does not involve Indian rupee. In that case value of supply equals to 1% of the gross Indian rupees here. So the gross Indian rupee equals to the least of foreign currency sold multiplied by the RBI reference rate, or foreign currency bought multiplied by the RBI reference rate, whichever is less will be the gross Indian rupee. Say for example, if the dollar wants to be converted into pounds, so how much dollar equals to 1 in terms of rupee, and how much pounds equals to in terms of rupee. So the it will be multiplied here, and whichever is lower will be taken. The of that 1% is the value of supply in such cases here. Then the next comes here the method 2 here, and this method the supplier has option to determine the value in relation to supply of foreign currency, including money changing, under rule 32 sub rule 2 clause B here. So at the option of the supplier of services, the value shall be determined as up to rupees 1 lakh amount exchange, 1% of the currency exchanged, or rupees 250, whichever is higher. If the amount of the currency exchanged is beyond rupees 1 lakh and but less than rupees 10 lakh here, then in such case rupees 1000 plus 0.5% of the gross amount of the currency exchanged. If the amount of the exchange exceeds rupees 10 lakhs here, then in such case rupees 5500 plus 0.1% of the gross amount of currency exchanged, or rupees 60,000, whichever is lower will be the value in such cases here. Then the next one comes here, the booking of the tickets for air travel by an air travel agent. The value of supply of services of booking tickets for air travel by air travel agent shall be 5% of the basic fare in case of the domestic booking, and 10% of the basic fare in case of international travel. So the basic fare means that part of the airfare on which the commission is normally paid to the air travel agent by the airline. So normally here the airfare, it includes a basic fare and other charges like other charges plus taxes. That will be the total value of the booking. So we should consider only the basic fare, not other taxes are to be included here, or other handling and charges, maintenance charges are not to be included here. Then the next one comes here, the life insurance business rule under section 32 sub rule 4. So the value of the life insurance service varies according to the nature of the policy here. If the policy has dual benefits, so here dual benefits means it will have a benefit of risk coverage as well as the benefit of investment. In such cases here, If the amount allocated for investment or savings is intimated to the policyholder at the time of supply of the services, taxable value will be taxable value equals to gross premium charged minus amount allocated for investment. Then if the policy is having a single premium, that means only one time premium is paid, that will wind up that will end up the payment of the premiums. So in case of the single premium annuity policy other than the policy the dual benefits, the taxable value of supply equals to the entire premium charged. Then in case of the policy with the risk 10% of the single premium, in case if the policy is having single premium, the value of supply equals to 10% of the single premium charged. If the policy with only the risk coverage, then entire premium charged can be taken as the value of supply. In case of other policies here, 25% of the premium charged in the first year and 12.5% of the premium charged in the subsequent years here. So that will be the value of supply of service in such case. Then the next one comes here, value of second-hand goods. So first let's understand what are the second-hand goods here. In a very simple words to say, second-hand goods are nothing but used goods. Supply of second-hand goods means dealing in buying and selling of second-hand goods, that is used goods, as such or after such minor processing which does not change the nature of the goods. You may be knowing Maruti is engaged in a true value cars. So sale of the true value cars, that means those the brand of other cars will be bought by Maruti Suzuki company and it will be sold to the customers here after making some changes, but which will not lead to the change in the nature of the car here. Then second-hand goods might be sold as they are or after minor renovations. So if it is an outward supply of second-hand goods, in such case the GST is normally charged on the transaction value of the goods. However, in respect of the outward supply of the second-hand goods, the dealer is chargeable to GST on the second-hand goods. For charging GST, dealer will have two options: charge GST on the full transaction value or charge GST on margin or profit earned on the goods. So charge GST on the full transaction value. Here the dealer is eligible to claim input tax credit on the tax paid on the purchase of used goods here. Whereas in case of the charge GST on the margin, here margin is the difference between the selling price and the purchasing price here. So however, to avail this scheme, the dealer has to fulfill certain conditions such as the goods should be supplied as it is or after minor processing or renovation, which does not change the nature of the goods. Of course, it is nothing but second-hand goods. Then the dealer should not avail any input tax credit on the purchase of such goods. If the second-hand goods are sold at a zero margin or for lesser price than the purchase price, no GST will be applicable in case of such a supply. If the second-hand goods are the inward supply, it is inward supply of second goods, when a registered second-hand goods dealer buys used goods, the supply can be either from a registered person or an unregistered person. So now here if it is an unregistered registered person, when a registered person purchases second-hand goods, used goods from a registered person, the supplier is liable to charge tax at the rate applicable to such goods. If he opts for margin scheme, the dealer cannot claim input tax credit. When a registered second-hand goods dealer purchases used goods from an unregistered person, the recipient is liable to pay tax on reverse charge mechanism here. If the dealer opts for the margin scheme, the dealer will not be able to pay tax on the reverse charge on inward supply. GST on second-hand goods received from the unregistered supplier is exempt from the tax here. Then the next here, redeemable vouchers or the stamps or coupon or token rule under sub rule 6 here. Sometimes customers may get like coupon, Amazon coupon, etc. here. The value of or maybe a coupon from the various enterprises. And then in such case, the value of a token or voucher or a coupon or a stamp other than the postal stamp, which is redeemable against a supply of goods and services, or both is equal to the money value of the goods or services, are both redeemable against such token, voucher, coupon or stamp here. Say for example, you may get a 500 rupees coupon for purchase of 5,000 worth of goods. In such case, that 500 can be redeemed here. So in such case, the tax is levied on at the rate of 500 on it is specified rate on rupees 500 here. So thank you for watching this.